If you're a spiritual entrepreneur, you know the power that energies can have on your business and on your business goals. So if you're using all the energies at your disposal for your success, you might be asking, how is it that my business can align with the moon cycles? Because if you've been hustling, if you've been trying to achieve a goal for a while and it hasn't necessarily come, it hasn't come with ease, you have to ask yourself the question, are you reaping and sowing in ways that align with these natural energies? And so if you're wanting to have more flow, more abundance, more ease on the business journey, that's why we have Dawn Pensack here. She's the expert when it comes to aligning with the moon cycles. And before this interview, she actually shared with me, she has a little box that she has her intentions. She writes her intentions, puts them in, aligns herself with this energy and also with her inner healing. She opened up that box recently and saw that she achieved everything, all her intentions and goals on there in terms of the business and in terms of the revenue goals and also some personal things. Everything was achieved. And it was all because she took this to heart. She started to apply it in her life and she started to access her inner healing as well. So what you're going to learn here is 1, what each cycle of the moon means, what it means for you. 2, what are the decisions you should make in business because of those cycles. 3, how this can assist with your inner healing. And 4, you're going to learn the 3 simple things that you can do to implement this in your business. Let's dive in. Okay, my online family, welcome back to another episode of the Awaken Your Business podcast. I have Dawn Pensack here, and I know this is an interesting topic for everyone because if you're listening to this, you're not only growing your business, you're not only interested in expanding your business, but you know there's energies that we need to be aware of. And if you're hustling, not seeing the results you want, there just seems to be some resistance. We need to look at all areas and see what energies may we be going against and what can we use in our advantage, as Dawn says, to make our business grow with more ease, with more flow, right? And with more deeper levels of healing along the way. So Dawn, we're going to dive in all this, but before we do, I'd love to give you just the space to share with the audience how you got into all this, how you started studying about the moon cycles, what that means for us down here on this crazy planet called Earth. But what's your story? How'd you get into all this?
Yeah, so I was actually a middle school math teacher, Tyson, for 10 years, and I burned out from the education world in 2014, and I started my own business in 2017. And I worked so hard and struggled so much for years. Like it was so hard. And one day I came across this podcast, it was Mind Your Business podcast with James Wedmore and his integrator, Jilly. And all of a sudden, James mentioned that he doesn't make any decision in his business without consulting the moon cycle. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, this is so crazy, right? And so thankfully, Jilly kind of went into a little bit more depth with that. And she's like, yeah, I consult this book here, Moonology. I consult that for all of our decisions and, yada, yada, yada. And I got so fascinated. So I immediately, on Amazon, I Googled the book that she mentioned, which is Moonology by Yasmin Boland. I ordered it right away. And I just started diving into all of this. It was so fascinating for me. I was like, wow, there's a way. Like there's a way to tap into this energy, right? To help me, create a little more ease and flow, which I desperately needed in my business. And so as I started studying it, I went down the rabbit hole big time. And I was like, there's a lot here. This is a lot of content and it's pretty overwhelming. So I started thinking, how can I, make this a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible to anybody who wants to know, how to have a little bit more ease and flow in their life. And as I started to align my work with the cycles of the moon, things definitely started shifting. Like I started noticing a lot of different shifts in my business and in my personal life. So I thought, okay, this is really like, I'm onto something here. This really does work. And so then I went and got certified as a moonologer, which is kind of funny. That's a thing. So I am a certified moonologer, and I started to bring the moonology into the work that I had been doing for a few years with NLP and EFT, hypnosis, timeline therapy, and things like that. I started to just bring the cycles of the moon and bringing this work into the work that I was already doing. And it just started to it kind of started taking a life of its own. And people just became so curious. Everybody I was talking to about, hey, we're in this phase of the moon. So this is a time when, this may happen, or you may feel a little bit of tension here. We're at the first quarter moon. It's okay. It's going to, just ride it out for a few days, or the full moon's coming, make sure that you do this or don't do this, or it might be a good time for this or that. And so my business started, it kind of shifted and went off into a whole new direction that I had never anticipated. And it's been so much fun along the way to really share this work with others.
As long as it's fun.
Yes.
All right. A couple of questions. So when you started doing this work, when you started implementing it in your life, what were some of the things? What were some of the results you started seeing that you can relate back to when you're like, oh my God, this is actually working? Were there some things you noticed internally, some things externally? What was it that sort of gave you the validation?
So at first, it was really like having the plan. So at first, I understood that we all have 3 signs. We have a sun sign, a moon sign, and a rising sign. I had no idea about that before. I just thought we had a sun sign, and my sun sign is Sagittarius, and it's a fire element. And, I was living a very fiery life. And I also found out that my rising sign, my other sign, is also a fire, Aries. So I was living this very fiery, it was just very action oriented, very masculine, very much in the doing, right? And I learned that I actually have a moon sign. We all do. And that's how I restore my soul. And that's how I reset my energy and really fill my cup so that I feel nurtured and taken care of. And so, and that is actually Taurus, and which is an earth sign. And it's kind of an indulgent, very, very different than Sagittarius or Aries. So I started to understand myself a little bit more. And then what happened with understanding my moon sign a little bit more, I was able to then manage my energy a lot better. And so I started to notice throughout the month, my energy was a lot more stable. I wasn't crashing and burning. I was also able to my focus was clearer. So I was able to do things in a lot less time because I wasn't just constantly, running out of energy and then crashing or working, but not having that focus or that intention behind it. So that was the very, very, very first thing that I started noticing. Then it really wasn't until I met you and I joined your program that I understood finally what it meant to actually open myself up to receive. So in the moon cycle, we have 2 main phases. We have the waxing phase and the waning phase. The waxing phase is from the new moon to the full moon. And that's where we really get clear on our intentions. And it's like the hustle phase, sort of. The moon is getting bigger every night. The energy is rising. And then in the full moon to the new moon phase, it's so important for us to kind of pause, take a step back, reevaluate things, surrender, trust. It's a very healing time, but it's really the most important part of the cycle because that's when we clear up our energetic blockages and all that stuff so we can actually receive. And I didn't understand that. I truly didn't understand that until I met you because I thought I was doing all the work. I was using EFT, I was meditating. I relied a lot on the guided meditations and things like that, but I was doing a lot of things to check the boxes, but I didn't realize I wasn't really doing it for expansion. I was doing it for comfort, security, or because I thought I was supposed to, So then when I started to have this balance of aligned action and really clear intentions, in the waxing phase and then in the waning phase to really work on releasing and expanding and just, the fear jar, right? Releasing the attachments and judgments and fear and resistance and all of this stuff. Things started opening up in ways that I could never have imagined. It was just the last few months in your program has just I can't even remember when I was struggling in my business. It was like, I feel like this is a whole new chapter in my life.
That's powerful, because one of the things that we notice, and I'm always reminding of people who are doing this work, especially my clients, is to look back and see what your life was like a few weeks ago, a few months ago, to notice the energy difference and to notice your relationship with your business, with your life, with money, and how it can feel effortless, how it can feel more in flow, more aligned. And that's exactly what you're explaining here, but you combined what you were learning in my program with your existing knowledge of the moon cycles, and having this powerful combination where you shared before we jumped on this call that every intention you set, right, every intention you had set has now come to fruition and has now manifested. So what are some of the lessons there that you've learned? Because so many people set intentions, so many people set goals, so many people have that, but not many people achieve it. So what's been the difference? What's been the difference between you creating this intention now and going about it in a new way with a new energy that's allowed you to manifest it in the real world?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Tyson. And yes, I've been doing this work for a while now, and the new moon is when we set our intentions, right? We get clear on what we're creating and what we want, and take those actions, right, to get there. And I've never, I set the intentions, but I had never hit every single one, because at the full moon phase, we kind of take a look back and check to see where we are. And a couple days ago, I looked at my new moon intentions and I was like, oh my gosh, they all came true. And I think one of the biggest things for me, other than, like I mentioned, this expansion, right? So that we can receive more. But I think one of the biggest things for me, because I had struggled for so long, I had so many attachments to different things. So I would do something and I would have an attachment to that, this should happen. There were so many shoulds in my life, a lot of judgments on myself for not being where I wanted to be, or not having the success that I wanted to have, or that I felt like I should have at this point. So because I had so many attachments and so many judgments on so many things, right? How can you, that wasn't allowing me to be very resourceful, right? I wasn't working from a very resourceful place, and I wasn't accessing these internal resources that were very supportive or empowering when I was holding on to so much baggage, and when I had so many patterns that were still there. And I honestly think too, right? One of the biggest patterns that I feel like I've shifted in our work together is this pattern of allowing myself to actually have ease and flow. For whatever reason, right? That pattern was not very strong, was not very well developed, but you helped me see that wasn't developed. And in working on developing that, oh my gosh, I send out an email. I have clients. I have members reaching out to me saying they have friends who want to join. Things are just coming into my life in such unexpected ways. And it's almost like I have to pinch myself. Is this real? And how can it be so easy? But I've allowed that channel, to open up. So yeah, I mean, the biggest lessons, right, is releasing that attachment, releasing those judgments, which is so hard, but so important, and really allowing it to be easy, actually allowing it to be easy, and allowing that flow to happen.
One of the things I think will be really important for people who are listening to this is, if you were to imagine your life with ease and flow, and attracting the clients, the income, a relationship, maybe it's to do with health. If things were to come easy and in flow, what would be some fears that come up with that? Right? Because there may be some resistances. It shouldn't be like this. I feel more validated when I work hard. I feel more, I feel like I deserve it more if I was to hustle, right? Or it may feel safe that I'm not getting the results that my mind wants, because then all of a sudden I may live in fear I'm going to lose it, or I may not be able to take on the responsibility of higher level of success. There's all these different things. So you can always ask yourself of what that might be, and what that might, what the success, the flow, the ease of success, what fears they may bring, right? It's really, really important. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming with the moon cycles, it seems to me like a topic that people can sort of choose how deep they go. Is that the way you describe it? So they can sort of, if they're to dabble into it and say, you know what, I'm just going to base my decisions based on the new moon, the full moon. But if they want to go deeper, they can. But let's say, for example, for the use of this podcast, if someone's going to just use it in a basic way, they don't really understand the differences, and they're looking to just implement it slightly in their business with the decisions they're making, what are some of the suggestions you would have?
Great question. Yes. So the most important thing to understand, I think, with following the cycles of the moon, especially, to allow more ease and flow into your business, is to really be aware of when we are in the waxing or the waning phase in the moon cycle. And the other thing is to look at if we're at a new moon, so usually we have a couple days of the new moon energy. That is a really, really, really great time to get clear on your intentions. Now, if you wanted to go deeper into this, there are ways to see like what's the sign of the moon, what area of your life is being impacted by that sign, and setting your intentions around that. But you don't have to go that deep. You can look at the new moon. Okay, we're in the new moon phase. Now, what are my intentions? And usually I have a 90-minute process that I work through with my members and my clients. But the really important thing about that, when you're setting your intentions, is you want to set intentions that you're really excited about, and that you feel really aligned and inspired with. So if you just write down like 10 wishes, right? There's going to be some wishes that you write down, or some intentions that you write down that, like, even as you're writing it down, you're just kind of like, it doesn't really have that like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this, right? So if you want to brainstorm intentions that you want to set for that cycle, then go through them and see, like on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you believe in them? How aligned do they feel? Asking yourself those questions and choosing, I would say like 3 to 5, around 3 to 5 is really pretty good. And then you can write down your intentions. And I like to actually put them in this little jar, and then I revisit them, later on around the full moon. But yeah, getting clear on your intentions, writing them down. Then thinking of if you're going to work from your intentions, right? In the next roughly 2-week period, you're going to have until the full moon, you're going to be working on your intentions. Now, there's one point in that period with the first quarter moon where resistance and tension is just kind of it's going to come up. And that's when doubt, that's when a lot of judgment and fear is going to creep in. And that's a couple days, that's like midway between that cycle. So you just want to be aware of that and know, like, all right, the doubt and the resistance is coming through. It's all good. It's going to pass. You just, you keep working towards your intentions. And then when the full moon hits, that's when things start to culminate and things start to close, doors start to close. It can be a really intense part of the cycle. If you think about as the moon is growing in size, right? Energies and emotions are kind of swelling. I just learned from somebody that she works at a hospital that during the full moon, they actually have more doctors and nurses on staff. And they don't quite know why, but there's always crazy, weird freak accidents or whatever that happen around the full moon time. So it's definitely a thing. And you might start to feel a little bit more emotional. So around the full moon time, that's when you don't want to start anything new in your business. That is a time of nurturing and harvesting. So you want to nurture. So the new moon time is like you plant the seeds, right? You get you're clear on your intentions, you plant the seeds, and you really start to see things gaining momentum and progress. And in the full moon phase, from the full moon to the next new moon, it's about a 2-week period, when the moon is starting to get smaller, appear to start getting smaller in size, right? That is when you're really nurturing like your students, your clients, your members, your ideas, your programs, and you start to see the results that are coming through from your new moon intentions, all of the hard work you did in the first part of the phase. So the full moon period, the waning cycle, is not a time to start new things. You're just not going to be as supported energetically during that time, and you're not going to see as much momentum and as much progress right away. So that's really a time of that nurturing and that harvesting, like I said before. So if somebody just wanted to follow like the new moon to full moon phase, right, the waxing part of the cycle, get clear on your intentions, plant the seeds, take the work, do the work. That's like kind of your hustle phase. And then the full moon to new moon phase, trust, surrender, reflect, contemplate, tweak, hone, different things, start to see the results. And it's a really great time to double down on any healing tools, meditation, maybe do a little bit more meditation, really looking at any resistance or attachments, judgments, fear, all of that stuff that might be coming up. But that's the time to really go inside and do a lot of healing work so that you can receive, because that's the time of receiving.
What I notice is that these are sort of the phases we all have to go through in business anyway. When you're launching a new offer or a new program, and you might be doing a new marketing campaign, something like that. We always have the period of sitting down, planning, seeing, imagining what needs to happen, scheduling certain things, and placing our intention on how do I want to show up, and what difference do I want to make, and what's important to me, and what goals do I want to have set. And then we go about creating those action plans, implementing the action plans, sitting back, reflecting on it. What did I learn? What do I do next time? And so these are natural things we need to do anyway, right?
Yes.
But it's now just strategically aligning it with the energy of the moon and the moon cycles, so that you have that extra support. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. And most of us never take the time to really sit back and rest and contemplate and look at the lessons and, reflect on different things. It's like push, go, and that's burnout, right? That's when you're at a really high risk for burnout. So yeah, exactly. It's really allowing yourself to have that balance and to have that ebb and flow. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. And so if someone's about to do something new, or they're about to launch something, they're strategically planning something, can they easily look up on Google or something like that and just see where's the moon, where's the cycle, where is it going, that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely. I've actually had quite a few people reach out with like different dates, like, is this date okay for open card or closed card, or, different things like that. So one of the things that a lot of people do, like a lot of people who are really successful entrepreneurs, they will strategically plan a closed cart on a full moon, because that is the most energetically intense. It's like, you got to make a decision. Like, it's energy is high, make a decision right now. The cart's closing, I don't want you to be left behind, or whatever it is. So they will oftentimes plan that. And then a lot of people will plan their start, get the launch started, the runway and stuff in that new moon phase, maybe even on the day of the new moon. So you can definitely strategically plan and align different things with the calendar. And it's very easy to look up, like the lunar calendar for 2022, have all the new moon dates, all of the full moon dates. So you can see exactly what's coming down. But yeah.
Cool. Is it true, as you were saying before, is it true that some people go a bit crazy on the full moon?
Yes, it's very true. Very, very
That's so
true.
funny. I believe that's where the term lunatic comes from. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, that's what I
it,
heard at least. That's where the term lunatic
mm,
comes from, because people go crazy when there's the full moon, and yeah, it's in sync with the lunar cycles. So there you go, something you can pass
that's
on as well. If I see that in your copy
that's so
somewhere,
interesting.
I know it's from me.
Yes, yes. I was
Uh,
actually thinking too, Tyson. Something that came to mind recently was, as part of the serving circle, right, and being part of a community that's so connection oriented. I was even thinking in the full moon phase, where nurturing and you know um, kind of reflecting and it's not that we don't do work in the full moon phase, it's just different work. But the full moon phase is a really great time to double up on your networking and your connection calls and different things like that, because it's just a really nice energy for nurturing relationships, nurturing your ideas, your programs, different things like that, clients, students. But that was something I was thinking about the other day, and I'm like, I really like that idea, because it's a perfect time to really focus on nurturing and strengthening different relationships.
I'm just gonna see everyone on the collaborative calls flood in. We're gonna have like 1,000 people on there, just because it's the full moon, and you're gonna urging everyone to get in sync.
Yeah, reaching out to people, making connections. Yep, I think that's a good idea.
Nice. And so you talk a lot about your inner healing as well, because you're sort of hinting here that aligning yourself with the moon cycles also allows you to receive.
Hmm.
And so where does the cycles work? If you're saying on the full moon you can double down on things like your meditations, on surrendering, on doing, some of the deep inner work. What have you noticed? How have you applied it for your own inner healing? How have you applied it to the cycle? And then we'll go into some of the results you've seen as well.
Hmm. So the full moon, so there's a couple days where we have the full moon energy, but then, Tyson, we have like the waning part of the cycle, which is the full moon to the new moon phase, which is about a 2-week period. And so within that entire phase, so not just on the full moon, but in that entire 2-week part of the cycle, that's when it's a really great time to double down on some inner healing. Not that it's never a bad time, right? Because I mean, I do my meditation every day, no matter what part of the cycle we're in, but it's different. The work is a little bit different in the full moon phase. And I might do it a little bit longer. I might look at things a little differently. It's different, but it's still, it's always a good time, right, to release resistance and attachments. But yeah, in the full moon to the new moon phase, this is the time when you want to really look at different things. You want to ask yourself really good questions. You want to ask yourself better questions. You want to look at, like you mentioned before, when you if you do start to see progress and results and momentum, right? Asking yourself, still asking yourself those questions to see what else is coming up. There's always different layers, right? So looking at the fear and the resistance and the judgments and different things. And so, yeah, this would be a great time, if somebody wants to schedule a massage or a Reiki session, or a coach, session with a coach to look at some meditation. This is a really great time for that, to go a little bit deeper into the work.
So I don't necessarily have my focus on the moon cycles. I will now, but as you say, when I meditate every day, it might just be on there might just be some different things coming up for me depending on the cycle and when we're at, and if there might be some deep inner healing that needs to come up, that needs to be seen, or maybe it's just a lightness that says, okay, let's just, it might organically come and say, let's move forward. What's your intention? What do you want to focus on? Who do you want to become? And there might be just organically a different response. and therefore a different intention for the meditation. So I could sort of start aligning that with the moon cycles and say, okay, where could my intention be, and what might my intention be because of the particular moon cycle that we're in. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, you can certainly do that. And you can even be a lot more specific with your intentions and exactly what the certain moon that we're in is activating for you. So there's certain, like, to go a little bit deeper into it, but you can get really specific with exactly what you're focusing on healing and exactly what you're focusing on receiving. In the different, depending on the moon. So it's, yeah, you can really get very specific with what you're focusing on each month in relation to the intentions that you're setting, as well as what you're releasing in that full moon period. Yeah. So it can certainly help you align your meditations and just kind of seeing what's there. Because one of the beautiful things about aligning with the cycles of the moon is that you have, if you follow this for a 12-month period, for a full year, you would have focused on and released and worked on healing every single area of your life. So if you follow it's called houses. This is a little bit deeper into it, but like if you follow the houses and you look at which sign of the moon is activating which house for you for every new moon and full moon, and you really follow that. And that's a lot what I do in my membership. We look at our houses, we look at the sign of the moon, we really stay plugged into that work. But if you follow that for 12 months, in every single area of your life, you would have focused on something, set intentions for some area of your life, and you would have focused on releasing and healing and opening yourself up to seeing results in areas of your life. So it's like a very comprehensive personal development journey.
That's cool. That's good to see that intent, because it sort of gives you an understanding that all areas are important. Your health, your relationships, your finances, these sort of key areas are really important. So if you want to dive in deeper, you can. If you want to dive in deeper with a specific intention, see where you are in the cycle and how it relates to you in that particular area of your life, then you can set the intentions of doing the inner healing for that area, opening yourself up to receiving, right? Mm-hmm. and then welcoming in something that might be what you're after.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
Hey, personally, it's more of a curiosity question, but when you are studying things like the moon cycles in your courses and certifications, do they explain why? Do they explain how particular the energy of the moon and alignment with the moon affects our energies in particular? Did they go into any of that?
So not so much in the Moonology course, because it really is like with Yasmin Boland here with the Moonology course, it's really about like the phases of the moon and different things that you can do in each phase. But if you go deeper into the astrology work, which I'm not super familiar with, but if you dive more into the astrology part, there's a lot, like, it's just a fascinating world out there. And you can definitely, you learn a lot more about how the planets are interacting with each other and a lot more about the energies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. I'd love to hear a bit more about your personal healing journey of allowing yourself the time, the space, the energy, the intention to do some of the inner healing that you're mentioning, because I know a lot of people, as you said before, use their meditations, their particular practices, because it feels good, it is comfortable, they can use that as a bit of a safety net. But when you started using meditation to your expansion and you started really going into deeper levels of silence, welcoming some emotions, being there for the inner wounded child within yourself, everything started to shift and you're able to start applying that to the moon cycles in a different manner. So what was that process like for you in applying that deep inner healing and then applying it to these moon cycles?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I didn't realize how judgy I was. Like my biggest breakthrough in what I really think started allowing me to have so much ease, because a lot of my success in my business has come from my relationships that I've been developing with others. And I had never, ever in my life had really amazing relationships with friends and peers and colleagues. I was so judgy, like, and I didn't realize it was really because I'm judging these parts of myself, right? I'm disowning the parts of myself that, that I'm judging in others. And so when I started to realize that this part had to be, was ready to be healed, right? This part was ready to be healed, as you helped me see, then I started connecting with people on such a different level. And in that and in those real, true, authentic relationships, because, with the moon cycle, as I mentioned, and with the signs, understanding my sun and my rising, my moon sign, I started to have a much better understanding of who I am. Like, how do I generate my energy? How do I connect with me at my core, my Sagittarius side, right? And then how do I restore my energy? And how do I connect with that nurturing side of me, that Taurus side? And then how do I show up in the world, right? My rising sign. How do other people perceive me to be? And so as I started to understand myself more and then heal this really judgmental, like horribly judgmental side of me, I was able to connect with others on a level that I've never been able to connect with somebody before, like just really, truly connecting with them as who they are and just loving them as who they are, no matter what, right? And then all of these things just started to take a life of its own. I started to reach out to somebody to say hi or connect with them. And then all of a sudden I have a referral. And then that referral is another referral. And then that client books more sessions. And then she, you know what I mean? And it was just like this web of awesomeness. That's the only way I could describe it. It's almost like some days I wake up and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like this is just, it feels magical, but I really believe it came from understanding myself on a much deeper level, releasing a lot of the judgment that I had, so much judgment that I had, and then connecting with others in a way that was so authentic and loving, because I finally could find that within myself and be able to love myself as who I am and not be so hard on myself for, all the things I did do or didn't do, or all the shame or all the guilt, all the stuff that I'm holding on to. It's like that's heavy. Like that's heavy and toxic.
It is. And I think it's a big kudos to yourself for being willing to do it, because it's courageous stuff to be able to look at someone and catch your patterns of judgment, judgments of other people in how they look, how they behave, their beliefs, whatever it may be. And I know for you there was a lot around success, and that was one of the things that I encourage anyone to look at if they're looking to have more success in their business. What is it that they feel and believe when they see other people succeeding? And are their beliefs there like, this person's succeeding and they shouldn't be because I've worked harder than them, or they don't deserve this for a particular reason, or they're doing it for the wrong reasons, whatever it is, and start to see, okay, everything that I'm perceiving out there is in me, and if it's in me, what is it that I need to heal within myself to heal this very pattern? And that's exactly what you had the courage to do, was to say, there are some judgments here. I didn't really know it before. I've just thought it was fact, but now I'm starting to see there's some beliefs, there's some judgments, and that means that I have something I need to look at within me, the relationship with myself at some level. So when you're able to heal that, no doubt that energy comes across in your interactions, in your relationships, which as a byproduct is going to lead to more business results, because there's such a vibration of unconditional love. There's such a vibration of receiving. There's such a vibration of giving and contribution, that's why I love the business journey. The business journey can be just used as this tool, as this personal and spiritual development growth where there's very few things that you can do that allow you to face these judgments and these fears and these patterns internally. So is there anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, I remember the one time where we were, this pattern was really brought to life, and one of my best friends, like my best friends, was having massive success in her business, and I remember on our call, I was like, I'm so happy for her, but I feel so, mad at the same time. And then you helped me to unpack this, and like there was so much, there was just so many mixed emotions. And I know so many people have these same challenges, right? When you see somebody and you started out kind of at the same spot, and then all of a sudden it's like a rocket ship for their success, and you're still there. And then it's like, oh, but like, what am I doing wrong? And it's not that I had to do anything differently. Like I didn't have to do anything differently. I just had to heal this pattern within myself. And then, to have my own success. And it felt so good to be able to release those feelings that I felt towards my friend, because I am so excited for her. Like it's amazing to see that, but then to have that internal challenge, like that internal struggle, felt awful, but I think one thing that's so important for people to realize is that we think success is doing something differently, having the tactic, having the strategy, having the checklist, right? Doing all these things, when we can have so much more, we can make so much more progress and have so much more momentum, doing so many things less, but really shifting our internal vibration. As you mentioned, like when we do this internal work, we operate from this energy that is so magnetic, like people are attracted to it. And it creates such stronger relationships, so much truer and more authentic connections. And then of course the clients and the students, come from there. So I'm so grateful for all the work that I've been doing with you, Tyson. It's been literally life-changing. And then to connect that with the cycles of the moon and really, looking at the healing process, in such a different way. It's been awesome, like the perfect combination.
Well, thank you. And I think I think it's important to highlight what you just said, where success isn't necessarily doing something different, but it can actually be doing a lot less. Because we can look inside ourselves, and if we're working so hard and having that hustle, having that energy, and it feels like a drag, and it feels like we're not getting the results we want to see, and it feels like I'm not becoming the person I feel called to become, there may be a reason why we're taking that action, and the action's probably coming from fear. It's probably coming from scarcity. And so your soul may be guiding you to an expansive lesson that says, hey, who and what you are is not what you do, and who and what you are is not the results on the other side. And so it might not be in your expansion to receive that result when you're working from the energy of hard work and hustle, no matter how much activity you're doing. So this is why it's been really important. And I think your example of doing less and being open to receiving and doing the inner healing can be the reminder that it's possible to look within yourself and say, where's my intention here, and what energy am I working from? Is it one that I need to succeed to feel a certain way? And is it coming from a pattern of lack? Or am I in my business because it's fun? Am I in my business because it feels expansive and I love connecting with people and I love giving value and contributing? And that has a very, very different energy that's not going to lead you down the path of burnout, but it's going to lead down the path of more and more expansion, more and more alignment. Obviously deeper levels of healing along the way as well, but you get to not only experience the results you want to see, but also welcome in something so much bigger than the results. And that's the relationship you now have with life, with yourself, with your spirit. And I think that journey to me is way more important than let's try this tactic to get this result.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, from being an EFT practitioner for so long, I've always known the power of energy, right? And how stuck energy, blocked energy can cause so many problems, right? But I never knew it to this extent. Like I never really grasped it at this level. And I also never really went into the parts of me, like, being a Sagittarius and being a 7 on the Enneagram. And like, I go for the fun. Like I go for the fun, the lighthearted, that's just what I like to live there. But I can't expand to the version of me that I know I can be and that I want to be if I don't heal these inner parts. So it was hard. Like it was really hard work at first. Really hard work at first, but the results and the expansion has been amazing. And it's just been, and that the energetic vibration that I'm operating from now. I mean, there's so many things in my life, not only in my business, but so many things in my life that have shifted big time as a result. So it's been really awesome to see.
That's cool. Before we dive into how people can find out more about you, I'd love to, if you can, just give us a few action steps. Maybe 2 or 3 action steps, whether it be look on Google and see where the the moon cycle is, and set an intention, or set some action steps that align with that. What are 2 or 3 things people can do right now to really start being more aligned with the moon cycles, and welcome in more and more flow, more and more abundance, more and more ease within their business?
That's another great question. So I think the very first thing that could be really helpful for people is to look at their sun sign. So most people are familiar with their sun sign. If you were born in late December, early January, right? Capricorn, like October, right? You're Scorpio.
I'm Libra. I'm on the 20th, so I'm like
Oh,
right on the
okay.
border.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay, Libra. So most people know their sun sign, but take a look at your sun sign, read about it, and start to understand a little bit more about it, because that's how you connect with your soul. Like that's how you connect with your core, who you are at your core. And it also gives you guidance into how you generate your energy. Okay. So you can better manage your energy when you're tapping into your sun sign and really living your life true to your sun sign. So I would say that's like your very, very first thing that you can do. And the second thing is to see where the moon is in the phases. So um if you look it up, you may not be able to know right away if it's in the waning or the waxing phase, but you could probably just Google, like, is the moon in the waning or waxing phase, or what is the happening with the moon cycle right now? And then when you know which phase it's in, then you kind of have an idea of how to align your work, maybe. So it's different work, right? In the new moon phase, the waxing phase, or the full moon phase, the waning phase. So if it's in the waning phase, you want to rest a little bit. You want to look at your plans. You want to tweak, maybe do a little bit more nurturing, see how you can open yourself up to receiving a little bit more. And then the third thing I would say, let me think. Third thing to get started.
Guess the third thing would be contact you.
You know what? Actually, the third thing would be, and this is how I always recommend that people get started in this work, is to just get really curious about the moon. So go out at night, start to develop more of a relationship with the moon. This is what I did for months. I still do this because it's just so fascinating. But go outside at night when you're walking your dog, or just go outside and look up at the sky, look up at the stars. Notice how the moon is changing. Notice how, like if it's in a different spot in your yard today that it was yesterday, like just notice what's happening and get really curious with it. And just notice how you feel from day to day, because every couple of days the moon changes its sign, and it definitely affects, how we feel.
Yeah, I was sharing
So,
before we jumped on here that that's what I've been doing, especially the last probably 6 months. I'm always fascinated with where the moon is, what it looks like, where it's different from yesterday. It's fascinating to me. And so when I'm meditating in the morning or meditating at night, I meditate in the morning generally at like 5 a.m. So it's the moon's out, and yeah, I'm always fascinated with where it's going, what it looks like. Is it a full moon? Is it not? And just the difference of it. But now I sort of have more tangible, you know, concepts to apply to it that I can really start to be more curious about. So that's awesome. I definitely
awesome.
I definitely can start to see how business owners can apply this in their life, because there's so many decisions we need to make, and there's so many things we can create. And if your business matters most to you, then you're obviously going to use everything in your advantage energetically to align with the sort of business you want to build, the results you want to have, and the person you want to become. So there's plenty of things here that people can implement. But how can they learn more about you? Obviously, there's a lot of people jumping into your program, your membership, all those different things. But I'd love to give them just some simple things of how they can contact you, how they can learn more, and how they can be more in your world.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook at Dawn Pensack EFT. I'm on Instagram at Dawn Pensack. And I'd also love to offer anybody who's interested a free session. They're called Moon Guidance Sessions. And we'll look at what your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign are. And then we'll also take a look at what your houses are and plan a couple months of what you can, focus on and what you can work on releasing, and how you can customize your intentions based on how the new moon and the full moon is affecting you personally. So I'd love to offer anybody a session who's interested in going a little bit deeper with this, or who are just a little more curious about this after our episode.
Cool. Good to hear. Anything else that you want to remind us of, give us some intel, some insight that would sort of wrap all this up and make it feel complete for you?
I think the most important thing that I really want people to understand is that the moon allows us to really tap into this balance. When we follow the cycles of the moon, we are really allowing ourselves to have that time of aligned, inspired action, right? Like the hustle, and also that time of looking back and reflecting and tweaking and resting and relaxing, surrendering, right? Letting go, and also opening ourselves up to receive. I feel like so many of us are very much in that hustle, that action phase, and we're not taking enough time to really pause and slow down and reflect. And a lot of times then we end up building things that we don't love, that we're not excited about, even after we have all this success, right? So the moon really gives us an amazing opportunity to be constantly growing and evolving and opening ourselves up, and really focused on what we're creating, and really tapped into our big vision, right? So that's what I would really, really, really love for people to understand. And when they follow the phases of the moon cycle, things become so much easier. There's so much more ease and flow that they're able to welcome into their life, with so much less hustle a lot of times. So
you don't have to make things harder than they need to be.
Yes.
You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. You can do it. You don't have to do it. But this is just one of the ways in which you can welcome in something with such ease, such grace, such flow, and have your business benefit because of it. So, Dawn, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being an incredible part of the Serving Circle, and I love seeing the results you're getting, the courage you show, and definitely being an example of how to apply this work. So thank you for being here. I'll put all the links below so that people can reach out to you, contact you, learn a bit more, jump on those sessions, and implement in their business. So thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tyson. Thank you.